Yeah, probably here. Now, here
hi
I am. So, hi, Julian.
So, how are you doing? You like it so far?
Yeah, pretty much. Haven't had enough time to listen to all the talks since I'm still trying to finish what I actually wanted to show, and so I try to share my screen now so I can get on with the presentation.
So, Lukas, stage is yours. See you later.
Oh, already. So, thank you. So, hi guys. I'm really pleased to be here to talk about what I'm working with. What is that little thing here? Okay, it just tells me that my screen is shared. So, I'm from Switzerland, as Julian said, and I'm running a small little web shop. It's called Kraftausdruck. Here you see an image I shot with my mobile probably a few years ago. It shows an image close to the place where I live. So I thought that nice because the moon is actually going down on top of the mountain when the sun is rising. So just a little impression close to the place where I live. So what is my talk about? My talk is about base theming and the way I handle it. Basically, this is work in progress. I intended to do a full talk about, but as time goes on, it just didn't happen that it was ready. But anyway, I wanted to show some concepts I use with it. And I think they have some stuff from deployment to content strategies in it. So about the whole cycle of managing a Silverstripe product, a Silverstripe website, a Silverstripe web experience. So it is a ready-to-run, build, and deploy Silverstripe CMS instance, and it's heavily inspired from the Big Fork's Quick Start recipe. Actually, I've started doing my own when I worked with version 4, and this was working, but then I saw what lost it, and it was just better in many ways, and I thought I would go with that. And mine also has Elemental in it. Is less minimal. It has more like things built in that you're ready to run. And I think what we have with Silverstripe is like a pretty good experience or pretty good platform to build good authoring experience on top of CMS, and expectation in that area are becoming higher and higher. But gluing those tools together from project to project and build all these additional needed features is becoming more of a task. I mean, we have modules and we can encapsulate some features. I even have built some of my own modules I'll probably show you later on. To do that, but we have also a lot of glue code and of snippets we collect from project to project, and while everybody builds his own, this is kind of nice, but it also opens a huge gap, I think, building that CMS experience, which is in many cases a basic requirement, building CMS functionality. Of course, it is everything else than basic to build it. It can get quite complex, but to me, it feels like this is the area where you could save most of the time if you get things right. But this is a difficult task to collect those things from different sources and to streamline it so that it is actually reusable. This is the situation where I'm in, and I think I'm not the only one. So I'll just show you what I do with my Bootstrap thingy. So it attempts to collect reusable functionality to start a project quick, it says. Integrated deployment, for example, is one thing I really like, and this is much based on the work which is done by Loss on the Big Fork start a team. I've worked with Deployer or even with Capistrano, Ruby Capistrano before. I'm pretty happy with that kind of deployment setup, but it was getting much nicer with Deployer, since it's just a PHP development requirement. You compose in like with one-liner, and also have then deployment set up for free, nearly for free, I would say. Also wanted to show you some things about my local development environment. This is homebrew based. I mean, there's nothing really special, but I think I can save quite some work and sometimes the way I handle it. Since if I have just, oh, you do not want to see that. It's just like Bootstrap. This domain name is just a folder name, which is actually under a folder called webroot, and there I have a lot of projects in, and all those projects have a subfolder called public, and this maps then to a domain like that. So basically, it's just a matter of creating a folder and cloning this project in, and then I will have it running on my local development environment. What you also get with Deployer is with this script, with this setup, is like database dump and transfers. And what I also pretty much like is having this capability to SSH into a box like deb SSH live. Probably some guys will say this is a no-go. Anyway, I think it's a handy thing to have ready. And also this here, what makes Silverstripe choose the database name by itself. So you just can get with those 3 commands and you're up and running. Probably wanted to transfer assets and database to it. But anyway, I will show you a video how I do that and probably comment it a little bit. So as I said here, it is like this webroot, and there I can put in all those projects and they map to the domain schema, as I mentioned before. So now it actually would already run since it has the public as a web server. Now the modules need to be in. Since it has a public folder when I composed stuff in, and here on the left-hand side you can see I still have teams, and also the build environment is mixed based, this Laravel mixed thing. Actually, I've mixed things up, but lost it a little bit since I wanted to try out post CSS, and yeah, still having it. It's slow, but somehow it ended up in the project, and I'm using it. Here I show you that I copied in the environment file and also the config file for deployment. This we'll see later on. For deployment, actually, I just have to set 3 things like username and domain or IP to the server you want to deploy, project name at the moment, but this is likely to be set different from the environment. So just 2 values you have to set up, and everything else is like default values. At least this is the way I managed to set it up for the host I work the most with. And then also I copy in assets and stuff to have this website, this very website I'm showing you my presentation on up and running. So that's it. So this was the deployment, getting that running on my local system. As you see, it also has a README file. Unfortunately, I haven't managed to make the first commit to that on GitHub and having it available, but it will be soon. It will be really soon. This is probably before we had some things in the README. You can see, yeah, here we see we have a whole lot of elements in it. I will show a few of them later on. And then here you see this is like the environment file, and then later on here this layout that the composer actually makes. This is like easy. You just have this public thing, which is the public web root, and deployer creates a directory for each release. And also we have some things that are shared over all releases, like the assets, the environment file, and the log file. Those get symlinked into each release folder. And then if a deployment actually runs through, just this current folder gets replaced to link to one of those releases. And you can set the threshold, how many releases you want to keep. Here up there is a folder that actually saves the deployment configuration stuff. And with this setup, of course, you can roll back within seconds. This is all built in. And you also have, as I said, you have a threshold, how many releases you want to keep on your server. So it shouldn't be a backup server, your production environment, but you can choose how you want to handle it. I even do dumps before I do the dev build, and cleaning them up according to the threshold you set, how many releases you want to keep. Yeah, that's basically it. And here you see deployment is just a one-liner. Where was it? Like here, it's just a one-liner, and it's also easy to deploy branches and tags to a certain environment. This is just all built in. Yeah, I pretty much like that. And also here you have some dangerous stuff like up and downloading the database with a one-liner. Uploading probably is for first time you set it up, but it really helps me to have the remote environment on my local dev machine within minutes. This is pretty cool thing. Going back to this slide or whatever it is, I want to show you some things that how I do it with my setup. For example, like linting and schema things. And then we have some topic around meta information and how I handle that. This is more probably of a conceptual thing, how you handle that and information architecture. And this is more like also a thing that I do not want to repeat over and over again. I usually use local business or kind of most of the time it is like local business or some sort of it. And also job posting is an interesting property to show its schema. I do that with the LD JSON blob, and this is generated by this package here. Yeah, really, local business is something that is repeated in many times. So I just thought I will build that in. Probably it has to be kind of a decorator or an extension at some point, but now it's just built into page and it's spit out on homepage. And it also supports multiple location opening hours and such. Probably opening hours need to be refined at some point, but anyway, just have that in helps. And as I said, I think job posting is a quite interesting case since it impressed me how they get picked up. So since we have probably November last year, Google Job came to Switzerland. Probably it is in your country as well. If you integrate a job posting with XML sitemaps, Google Job picks it up. That goes quite easily. And the thing that actually impressed me was I've just published some job posting and some random other job searching platforms, also like Xing. They scrapped it. They took that. So we had it on 5 to 10 platforms. just by having those schema, and probably this is not going to be always that way. I mean, I can't imagine that they will work this way, this job portals. But at the moment, this seems to be a situation where they end with that they need to have a lot of job posting to get people there who actually search jobs on their portal. So yeah, somehow this is an interesting situation at the moment, and we will see how it evolves. And also, I wanted to talk about the Lighthouse course a bit. Those numbers look pretty on the top of this page. Probably not pretty in optical terms, but it's a shame actually. Accessibility is not 100%, but I couldn't find a better screenshot when I prepared to talk. And yeah, it was a design decision actually. I couldn't prevent that they need to print things smaller or whatever. So it's nice to have these values, but I also say good light speeds course is a fragile thing. I mean, it just depends what your customer is uploading. So if they decide to have some videos on YouTube videos from Google, things tend to slow down quite a bit. I do not know. Probably you could do that smarter, but yeah, it just depends on how much content or how much media you have on your page. But what you should have is like a good starting point. You could reach something like that with not too much effort, and this is what Utstra does. But it does that also depending on the hosting, depending a lot on the hosting. I use actually a hoster in Switzerland, which is called Cyan, and they do Lightspeed. They do hosting with Lightspeed server. They sell a shared hosting, which is not that cheap, but really it is awesome. And you got HTTP to SSH and all that stuff in for that, up to 10 domains with the smallest package and whatever not. But what I did to actually reach those kind of values is like having caching on client side, really push caching on client side. And since we have hashed or cache pastors for CAH and JS, it also images, yeah, you can reach quite good values with that. So this is with Silverstripe, I think is it's quite good possible to get decent values there. And also Utstra utilize server push. We do that with app and with styles and pre-connect Google Font. But actually, I'm wondering how that is, these pre-connect things. I'm wondering how those work with e-privacy. I haven't investigated that much. I also have a module for cookie management, which I show later on. And then there's, as I said, this wonderful screenshot here, which is what is wonderful about is, can we see it? This is a WebP. That is probably the thing, and it gets created on automatically. Can we see it somewhere here? Yes, here we see it. It gets created automatically, and I have a HTTP rule to redirect browsers that supports that format, and this is pretty widely supported these days. So it is nice. This is this module here, but probably need to investigate it some more, since somehow if you flush a site and it has a lot of images on, I think they get resized again. I really have to look into that at some point, or somebody has to look into that at some point. having a site with a lot of images and flushing it or having it freshly deployed can slow it down quite a bit. It speeds it up on the first time, but probably it's not quite there right now. Those are the things I wanted to share with you about Lightspeed and Schema. Job posting, probably wanted to mention is a candidate for having that as a module, as a separate module. Local business at the moment probably is just coupled too tight with how I do things in managing locations or even latitude and points, whatever. Here we have another topic about how I call it, this like self-contained meta informations. I mean, this is kind of pretty basic stuff, but I think done it the way I've done right now can save you some headache or can improve things in general. What we have is like HTML needs a title and Open Graph needs a title. We have meta description and we have Open Graph description, and we even need those need kind of these things again on if we do some teasering on our own homepage inside in linking. We can use those since they're quite similar. I mean, you could say that value from here is probably a good fit as a default value for that, and same goes here. And what matters is really if you get that in the right size. This is most of the time an issue. How I do that is like with this text target length module from Jonathan Mentz, and have some additional description. And also we have this canonical URL. This is actually based on Dorset Digital Tim's module, but I've made some improvements to it, or hacked it up a little bit. And now it looks, he wants that to merge, or even merged it already. Hope it gets stable at some point. But this is what we have. And what I also did is like with my elemental setup, I have always an image on top. I do that with the default header. So you can define a default header image on site config, and Elemental just iterates over it. And if there is no hero on the top, it just push that default hero in. Probably this is, I will break up with that at some point, but on the other hand, you just have one elemental area. And what you also get with that, I take the first image of the hero, the first slide. I mean, it is a slider if it has multiple, and otherwise it's just like a hero. And it takes the first image of that, and then you also have a default value for Open Graph image. So with that, you have an image, a title, a description, actually kind of for free with Open Graph, since you have it on the meta stuff set. You could customize that with sharing care, but you will get that default values in. So that is how I do it. And what I really think is interesting to use those data again for internal linking. For example, here we have these 3 teasers, and those are just generated from this data I filled in, I've showed you. And so this is the basic feed teaser, how it looks. I say like layout is like third. And if I want to link this parent, I have the possibility to actually set here something. And then we just set how many posts or how many articles or whatever you will call that will be shown. So this is not restricted to block or anything. I just use elemental setup on block and on element page, and those two page types can have children like that and get feeded the way you expect those things to work. And also, if you combine that concept with categories or have the same taxonomy on say a collection of showcases and some blog posts, you even could have two parents here set it and say you want to show the latest 2 or 3 or whatever, how many you said, somewhere depending on the parents and the category or whatever. This gets you a pretty flexible thing up and running. At least in my opinion, this is a nice way of linking things over the site tree, where you usually just have hierarchical structure. You can link like horizontal. Makes it interesting. And also what the biggest benefit is about, in my opinion, is that authors get aware of creating those short description, those previews. And if you have said that, what you get is like a basic SEO requirements already there, and you can improve on that. Combined with, let's say, decent page scores, and that, I think you have a solid base to get on with that. And so that's already quite a bit. I probably show you some things about elements and modules that involved with the creation of Bootstrap. So this is just an element that is in this Bootstrap, just a client project, so probably. So, I mean, nothing really special, just what it has is like a V-card generation automatically. And I'm not sure this has actually built in schema data inline, not sure. Here you see this Claro cookie consent, and the map element is also on the same project here we can find. I mean, this is also nothing really special, just you can select multiple points, or here I have 2 different kind of points, and then it shows all that on one map. So it just searches for the right area to show. And even in backend, you can choose that with a map selection field and have a little preview. Nothing really special, but I think it's handy. Instagram feed is a relatively new addition. It's also it just is what the title is. It feeds Instagram posts to an element. I just had a few issues with modules like that because of session expires and so on. So I decided to go with that basic display API, and it seems to work out pretty well, but I haven't, though this module is actually just in stage area. This is it's not live, at least not if I know it. Well, actually, it's easy to set up, but what the pain point is that you also have to set up this Facebook application, and this is, in my opinion, more complicated than it needs to be. Anyway, that's just the way it is. Then we have this webfest module, web manifest module. If you don't know what it is, there's a link that tells you about it. And I mean, you could say this is just a text file. Why would you do a module about it? What it does is like you can collect things from a YAML thing and mix it together from, say, you have you want to show this value for name, or you want to have a field in site config root web manifest, this tab. Then you just write site config in, And if you set just a value, well, it will be just a value. And all those things are mixed up and ending up in that manifest file. Those are just a few modules that I use also for my base theme. And then there is this cookie consent, Clara cookie consent. This is a module that I was inspired from this NoMidi cookie module, but he was doing he generated the config file statically, and I made that dynamically. That's it. And what it does is like injecting a JavaScript config and the Claro config and the Claro JavaScript file. And if you add some data attributes to like Google Analytics or whatever script, it just enables them depending on what you set, what you give consent to. Probably a will or one could do a template parser to add those data attributes at some stage. But yeah, that is basically it. What I wanted to show you, and probably I'm really interested how others handle that. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one that rolls is start a solution, and yeah, I really wonder how you handle that.
Well, Lukas, thanks for that sentence, because now it helps me advertising our talk at 2 p.m. today, because it's exactly supposed to be about that, about modules, boilerplate generation, snippets, extensions, all of that stuff. And Sam told me if he will still be awake, 2 p.m. our time, he'll be joining the discussion. So Lukas, maybe we can have you too joining the discussion, because then you will know how others are doing this right now. And well, thank you for your talk, and the demonstration was cool to have a little hands-on style here on stage. Are there any questions for Lukas? Stacy was asking if you've already posted the link to your boilerplate somewhere. You've shown some of the
yeah, it's a pain. Actually, it's a pain. I intended to push it on Git this morning and didn't manage to do it. So, but I will in the probably I will have it online and in the afternoon.
Okay, cool. So it would be great if you can share the link to the repository just in the event chat.
Yeah,
so yeah, all of us can have a look.
Yeah. I mean, this is like work in progress, and yeah, it just didn't happen before the talk. Yeah,
I see. There's one more question by Damir. He's asking if the cookie consent plugin or module is already online on a site.
Yes, it is. It is. You can find it on GitHub, Learny, or you just looking at or searching on add-ons, on Silverstripe add-ons. Yeah, where
I think he's more asking if it's already used on a production site.
Yes, indeed, it is. It is, yes. I have that online on some sites, and the link to the repo I will share here in the. Is this just only the backstage chat where
I think so.
Where should I?
Give me a second. I'll post it to the stage chat.
Okay.
So here we go.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Nothing.
Well, one more question by Andreas, then we will switch to the lightning talks. He is asking, do you create WebP and always JPG as a fallback for your images?
Yeah, this is also a module. They do it actually. If you save your image, then it hooks in and does that automatically for you, and has a rule set in HTTP access. And if the browser supports it, it automatically gets loaded. It slows down, as I said, it slows things down after flushing a bit. just haven't had time to dig into that, but usually it just works. And the thing is, if customers are actually uploading PNGs, this can slow down things quite a bit. I mean, PNG can be really, really big or really fat in size, and if you just use like this web piece, it gets decent.
Yeah. Okay. So, Lukas, thanks a lot. Maybe see you again at 2 p.m. in the panel discussion would be very cool. And
Thank you for having me.
See you around. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.